Happy Sunday, everybody. I always have to wait. Like, I know that sounds like there was like this dead air pause. It's because in the corner, I have to catch up with my eye that it's actually live because there's like a whole countdown. Not that you care or anything. Today, we're going to be talking about 9 states that have now flipped to a buyer's market. This could be an area that you've been interested in looking in. We also have a story, and I'm going to give it up to you. I'm going to let you choose. That we have a story that is unprecedented times in real estate. So you can tell me if you want to hear the unprecedented times or the ones or the story about the 9 states that are affordable. Because I mean that's what this live stream is supposed to be about, but it's up to you. You guys run the ship. I just host. We also have some headlines that didn't make this stream this week, but I still thought they were interesting, and I'm going to be highlighting those this week. There were 5 articles out there, and it's a new little segment. I want to try and see how you guys like it. I thought it was interesting, so I'm going to give it a whirl, a little whirly whirl. I wanted to say hello to Eric the Blue. He was the first one in the chat. Muddy Sneakers, I'm so glad you were able to make the chat as well. Francis Tesh, welcome. Lawnmower is here. Alex Y is here. SB is here. Charlton Zimmerman is here. Thank you. King in the City the First is here. And Debbie says there's no poll today. Nope, I didn't do a poll. I didn't do a poll. But I do want to ask which story do you want to hear? Do you want to hear the unprecedented time story, or do you want to hear the 9 most affordable states? Let me know in the comment section, and we will do what you want to do. Somebody says Reader's Digest, both. Yeah. Yep. Hi from New Jersey. Yes. Welcome, Robin. Hello there, Just Blue Tier. Oh, Butter. Just Butter. If you saw his screen name, I got to show you the screen name, how it was put up. This is funny. See, it's just Butter. Cool screen name. I like it. Yep. MD Fizzy. So it says hello. Yay! All right. Oh, okay. So story time. Well, we got one that says the affordable housing. The other one says time story. Let's take a break from unprecedented times. But you know what, Debbie? I have to tell you, this is a really good one because it actually helped I shouldn't give out the thing. This is a positive one. Unprecedented times with a positive spin. So we like positivity. All right, 9 affordable homes. All right, 9 affordable housing markets. Let's go see where it is flipped. It is flipped. The crowd has spoken. Hello from Utah. Hello, friend. I'll be in Utah next week. Oh. Or is it this week? Eddie, do I leave this week? Yeah, I leave this week. I leave this week for Utah. Yep. 9 more affordable, the most affordable areas, states. Let's look at it. All right. Housing markets are shifting in 9 states. I got to find my glasses because I can't see poop. All right. 9 states where buyers are quickly gaining power. You guys want to give me a guess which states you think they are? All right. While assessing home price momentum, it is believed that monitor active listings and monthly supply. If active listings start to rapidly increase as homes remain on the market for long periods of time, it may indicate prices softening or weakness. Conversely, rapid decline in activity of listings could suggest the market is heating up. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious, article writer. All right. Generally speaking, the housing markets where active inventory has returned to pre-pandemic levels have experienced soft home price growth or outright price declines over the last 30 months. Wow. Conversely, local housing markets where activity has remained far below pre-pandemic levels, generally speaking, experience stronger high price growth. Okay, go ahead. Let's see who the states are. Let's look. Eddie, scroll down. I know nobody wants to hear all this stuff. All right, active U.S. housing inventory for sale, according to Realtor.com. Scroll down to where it's highlighted. There you go. All right, look at this chart. It's all over the place. Little wiggle worms everywhere. Yep. Look at that. 2025, we're seeing a decline in some markets. But you know what? There's still markets that are cranking. All right. Well, let's look at the markets. Which ones are they, Eddie? It has to be Florida. 1 year change in activity of inventory sales shift between 2025 and 2024. Okay. So California is high on that list. Nevada, not shocking. I have to tell you, like during um, the last housing crash, uh, Nevada, Las Vegas got hammered, hammered, and that was like the hot spot of home flippers. This time we don't have as many home flippers, so that isn't the case on this one. The one that's surprising me that I thought would be a lot worse is around Phoenix, Arizona. Utah is seeing a shift. Colorado is seeing a huge shift. And I've heard that from several of you in the audience saying that Colorado is shifting. Maryland is shifting. And I wonder if that has to do with um even Virginia as well, with all the federal workers having to lose their jobs or, rearrange their jobs. The one that shocked me was Florida. I thought it'd be a lot worse, but North Dakota is looking good. North Dakota's looking good. So is New York. So is New York. Fantastic. West Virginia. Well, that one's not bad. It's not shifting there. Texas is looking it's a little green, but it's not. I bet you that has to do with some markets. See, Eddie, we can put our house up for sale. I mean, it is shifting a little bit, but we have some rentals that we want to sell. Hello from the Great Lakes in Midwest. 9 most affordable. That was her her idea. I am positive recession is here. Yeah, Texas for sure. I thought Texas was going to be worse, but I know that there's some markets like I know that DFW has seen some shifts in the market. I know that San Antonio has seen some shifts, but not nearly as bad as like people have like reported. San Antonio, even when it was at its height, was never way overblown, overpriced like some markets like Austin, Texas blew up overnight. So, anyways, let's move on, Eddie. Let's move on. Keep scrolling, please. It's just active inventory for sale. That's all. That's all it means. Active inventory shifts. In contrast, the active housing inventory for sale has nearly surpassed the pre-pandemic levels in 2019 in many parts of the Gulf region, including metro housing markets such as Punta Gorda, Florida, and Austin. What do you know? I just said it. These areas saw major surges during the pandemic housing boom, with home prices getting stretched compared to local incomes. And we've seen that in many markets. I kept saying, I'm like, when the median income is 64,000, but the median price home is over 400,000, you have a massive problem. As pre-pandemic migration slowed and mortgage rates rose, markets like Tampa, Florida, and Austin face challenges relying on local income levels to support the frothy home prices. This softening trend is furtherly compounded by the abundance of new home supply in the Sun Belt. Builders are often willing to lower their prices for or offer affordability incentives to maintain sales, which also is a cooling effect on the resale market. Some buyers who would have previously considered existing homes are now opting for new homes in more favorable deals. And I kept telling you that, like a lot of these builders in the South, they were offering, because they own the mortgage companies, a lot of them do. So they would offer like a lower mortgage rate or some kind of adjustment to the mortgage rate that would be lower than you could get on the open market. They also like would reduce it with the cost of title because they own the title company as well. I don't know if I necessarily love the fact that the builder owns the lending company and the title company, because like, so what if something goes wrong? Who do you call? Like, and the builder's not responding. I don't know. I don't know why that works that way, but it certainly does in many states. That being said, the other incentives they were offering was like upgrade incentives. So they would upgrade the flooring or offer appliance packages. They've been doing that for almost a year now because the fact that they wanted to get as many people and get the inventory off the books. Another thing I want to tell you is that a lot of home builders are dipping out. Like, they are not building right now. And that's not going to help with the building supply in areas that are super tight. Like, think about New Jersey and everything. Eddie wants us to see this chart. It says active housing inventory for sale compared to the pre-pandemic levels shifted from 2019 to April of 2025. So we're up 23% in Florida. You're up 28% in Texas. We got, I think, was that Utah? Yeah, Utah is up to 28%. We have, Colorado. Boop. I never said I was really good at reading maps. Utah's 15%. I got them backwards. I'll blame my dyslexia. New Mexico is minus 27%. They have a shortage of inventory, but we have increasing inventory in many states. So, all right, keep going. Keep going. Statewide shift. Texas, Florida, Tennessee, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, Washington, Hawaii, Idaho, and Nebraska. Those are the ones that were seeing the biggest shift, but they're still below pre-pandemic levels in Nebraska, Oklahoma, North Carolina, Nevada, California, Georgia, Louisiana, Indiana, New Mexico, Virginia, Maryland, Minnesota, New York, Pennsylvania, Maine, Illinois, New Jersey, and Vermont. And I know that people that live in Connecticut, they're seeing it's so hard to find a house, so hard. So the big picture is over the last few years, we've observed a softening across many housing markets as strained affordability tempers the fever of a housing market that was unsustainably hot during the pandemic housing boom. And we all said that, like, it was unsustainable. It was ridiculous. I know many of you are like, these prices are stupid, and they are stupid. While home prices are falling in some areas around the Gulf, most of the regional housing markets are seeing a positive year-over-year price growth. The big question going forward is whether the active inventory and month supply will continue to rise and cause more housing markets to see a softening. And this is my question to you. Do you think that, because we live in unprecedented times, and I'm hearing a lot more about the jobs market. And I've always said these prices of homes will not maintain themselves if the job market softens. But the last numbers that came out for the job market have been looking pretty good, even though the rumors on the street that they're letting go of all these people. Do you think that we're going to see a wave of more listings hitting on the market as people are more stressed out financially? Everything's gone up in price. So it would be interesting to hear what you guys think is going to happen. Eric the Blue says, not surprising that my state, Colorado, the problem is pricing has changed from outrageously unaffordable to simply unaffordable. Yeah, it's still so high. Yep. List of companies laying off employees in May. Oh, Eddie had this up. We were talking about this morning. So it is Michael's Cookies. Never heard of that. Blue Shield of California. Accident? I don't know that company, LLC. Boston Scientific Corporation. U.S. Conference Catholic Bishops. RTX. But how many jobs are they removing? Portland, Oregon facility. Idea. Southern Louisiana Idea Innovation. Oh, I didn't even know that was a company. Envision Physician Services. Well, that's not good. Southeast Service Corporation, servicing education. Durham School Services. Northland College. Graphic Package International. Merlin Magic Shop. And FedEx. FedEx is on there. There's one I recognize. Health and Human Services. Department of Health and Human Services. They're letting go people. All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, because they keep highlighting the fact that all these people are laying off people, but that could be just something that makes people, click on an article. Compass is, I'm assuming Compass, the real estate company. That'd be interesting. I wonder who they're letting go. American Medical Response and Ambulance Service. Well, we kind of need them. All right. Well, this is a big list. I thought it was just going to be 10 companies. Wow, AT&T is laying off some people, but how many? Wells Fargo too. Yep, thank you, Eddie, pointing that out. Mattel, you would think the Mattel would be cranking out some new employees right now. Southern Glazer Wine and Spirits of Louisiana. Amazon is going to be laying off people. John Hopkins is going to be laying off people. These are all the companies that are laying off. I bet you it's like this all the time, though. Chewy, that's one of my favorite places. I love that company. The Cheesecake Factory. All right, well, let's get out of that. Let's talk about the bittersweet story of a poor lady who got her house stolen. This is one of those things of unprecedented times. Man, that's a big old list. That does not make me feel warm and fuzzy, but we have some unprecedented times. Eddie, go ahead and bring this up. Read this story 2 days ago. Eddie sent it to me, and it was of an Ohio woman that won back her house because somebody stole it using a quick claim deed. Do you guys know what a quick claim deed is? I'll give you the simplest version of it. Basically, what happens is this. You say to a family friend or a relative, or you've gotten divorced, hey, you know what? I'm not taking claim to this house. I'm giving you basic ownership of the house. That doesn't mean you can't pay the bills. That doesn't mean you're just giving them basically permission to stay in that house, but you're not staking claim to it. It's a quick claim deed. Not only that, they're not verifying or saying that any of this is binding through the title work itself. The title may still say your name, even though you gave them a quick claim deed to the property. Okay, so Columbus, Ohio, and I want to get your opinion about this too. Columbus, Ohio, when a scammer stole her house through a fraudulent quick claim deed, Robin Mobley of Dayton was left blindsided, in debt, and determined to win it back. It all started when Mobley agreed to sell her house to a man without using a realtor. The home was paid off, and she agreed to sell the home as long as he would pay the property taxes. Okay, keep scrolling down. The deal fell through. However, when still living in the house, Mobley said she never knew that the buyer had filed a quit claim deed, taking ownership of the home without her knowing. It wasn't until years later, when she moved out, that she was notified by the county that her home was no longer in her name. Keep scrolling. This is the part where it's a little gray for me. Like, I'm like, how does that happen? So the quick claim, we already know what it is, but she claims that she never signed that document. The shock deepened when Mobley learned that she owed over $17,057 in back taxes on the property, and along with thousands of dollars in water bills. She says the scammer had rented out the home without her knowledge. So she had left the house, right? She said that the deal didn't go through, and that all of a sudden she didn't know that she owed on property taxes. How could that be possible, right? How could that be possible? Even was this guy getting the property tax bill? If you weren't getting a property tax bill for a couple of years, wouldn't you know that something was wrong? I know by November, I got to go check to see how much the property taxes are. If by December I haven't gotten a bill in the mail, I'm going online to find out how much I owe. I'm not deciding 3 years later, you know what? I've never paid my property taxes. I wonder what's going on with that. This is the little sketchy part for me. So anyways, she says it's on me to pay, but there's a water bill for $2,400. And I just don't think that's right, she said. Mobley filed a claim against the city of Dayton, arguing that she should not have to pay back the taxes. I don't know about that. Additionally, Mobley went on to the court, county auditors and prosecutor's office, fighting to prove fraud. But under Ohio law, but under Ohio law, she had to go to trial to reclaim her home. All right. Eddie, scroll down, please. She represented herself. The attorney for the now deceased defendant. So the person that filed the fraudulent quick claim deed is now no longer with us. And she's still fighting, by the way. She has cancer, which is terrible. So this is even making it more of a headache for her. But the lawyer who filed it is saying, oh, no, we're going to fight this all the way to the end. On April 25th, though, the ruling was made in her favor. She got her home back, but she has to pay back all those back taxes and that water bill. Yeah. But that attorney said they're going to go ahead and take it all the way to Ohio's Supreme Court, even though it was fraudulent. So they said the The notary signature was fraudulent. They said the stamp was fraudulent, and she never signed it. What was your deal? Highlights the growing threat of deed fraud in Ohio, but it's happening in other states as well. Between January 23rd and February 24th, Montgomery County recorded 91 referrals of deed fraud, making it one of the hardest hit areas of the state. Officials say that current laws make it difficult to prevent fraudulent transfers, especially with quick claim deeds. It can be filed without any parties present because you can just like talk to a friend or just sign a little note that says that it's a quick claim deed in some states. But it's not just an Ohio problem. Sellers impersonation fraud is growing, according to the reports of the American Land Association. 28% of title insurance companies experience at least one seller impersonation attempt a year. And then 43% invoke fake notary credentials, and 85% involve vacant homes and undeveloped land. And we know that from squatters, right? Squatters claim that they have squatters' rights because of the fake, they come up with this fake lease, and sometimes they come up with these fake quick claim deeds as well. This is, if you wanted to look at the whole ruling, Eddie, you can put a link in the description of this whole entire thing if you wanted to read about what happened during this case. I still don't understand why she thinks that she doesn't owe on taxes. You can't expect somebody when the deal falls through that you shouldn't pay property taxes for X amount of years. Current law does not provide any guidance or authority to the county auditor to stop fraudulent transfer from occurring when the deed is presented to the office, said Delaware County Auditor George. I'm not even going to say his last name. He said that working with the state senator Andrew Brenner to amend the revised code to give the county auditors the authority to stop deed transfer process when fraud is suspected. We support legislation that would give more authority to the auditor's office to reject material false and fraudulent documents, and the authority of the recorder and the auditor to require photo identification for certain transfers and conveyance transactions. This was big in Atlanta. I saw a news story like probably about a year and a half ago of a woman who had inherited two of her grandparents' properties, and they happened to be side by side. And she went to go remove some stuff out of the house, and she saw that there were people living in that house. So of course she calls the police, and they come to the door and they're like, "Oh no, we have a lease." And they did have a legitimate lease. And so sure enough, it was one of these quick claim deed things. That quick claim deed was fraudulent. And it took her a long time. It took her a year and a half, and she had to get the news involved. She had to get, she was just making a big stink. And in order to get a lot of these things rectified, you have to be obnoxious. You have to be so loud that somebody listens, because they were just kept blowing her off. And they were like, well, they got a legitimate lease. We can't kick them out. Well, she ended up winning as well. But just, pay attention, especially with your elderly, family members. Make sure that that everything's in order, and you understand where all those documents are, and find out if there's anything been filed against your title or at the courthouse. You can do that easily. Just go online and see if anything's been filed under your property, or you can go to the courthouse itself and see if anything's been has been filed. So that way you can rectify it. It's going to take money though. And that's what sucks, is because a lot of areas that they're doing this, it's more affordable housing type of areas, and the people that live in those houses can't necessarily fight what's happening to the home. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of it. But at least she got her house back. Yep. Mossy Rock says, in desirable areas of New England, when a house goes on the market, it becomes a feeding frenzy. We bought recently a house, and we won an offer offering over $50,000. You know what? That that whole Connecticut, New Jersey, Maine, Massachusetts, that whole area, they're still and the thing is that they just don't have there's not a lot of areas that they're building a lot of new construction. Not like here in the South. There's tons of land. So those areas that you're seeing a lot of price reductions also have a ton of new construction in the area. And that's what balances out affordability in the first place, right? So if you had lived in an area that had a lot of new construction in the area, you probably wouldn't have had to bid over $50,000 right now, but it's just not the way it is. Just Butter says, I'm a loan assigning agent in New York State. I have been getting hired for a lot of home purchases. Fantastic. Good for you. MHO8 says there are a lot of affordable homes in the Great Plains, just no jobs. You know, I was wondering, like, I have a friend, he's in Nebraska, and I'm like, what's out in Nebraska? What industry is in Nebraska? Is it like, I don't know of anything, like, I don't know of anybody that lives in Nebraska personally, like where I could go visit. I don't know. And I rarely meet people from like North or South Dakota. I don't know. Let's look at some of the headlines that didn't make it this week, but I wanted to highlight some important things that did happen because I'm not going to read the whole entire article, but I'll highlight it for you. I read the article so you don't have to, basically. Oh, and don't forget we have a phone call today too. We have to get to. I'm going to go ahead and all right. Let me go ahead and there we go. There we go. Oh, all right. Here we go. All right. Recovery in Ohio's retail real estate market is increasing and is fragile. So we're not just talking about, regular real estate. The retail market has been getting a hit ever since the pandemic because, a lot of businesses closed. So Collier says that retail sales last year throughout November declined more than 13% due to the fall in customer confidence. Spending last year was near levels not seen since the early days of the pandemic. So Hawaii is seeing a reduction in how much people are willing to spend at retail stores. So I wanted you to see that because a lot of businesses look at the retail market to see what they're going to be doing with their money. So that was story one. Story two says 10 housing markets in the U.S. will see price cuts now, very similar to what we read earlier. And this is the breakdown. Go ahead and hit answer the next tab. I'll go ahead and get it. Oop, here we go. All right. We have Phoenix, Arizona, Tampa, Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, Raleigh, North Carolina, Denver, Colorado, Nashville, Tennessee, Orlando, Florida, Dallas, Texas, San Antonio, and Salt Lake City, Utah. They say that the price cuts are in effect in these cities. So that's another place you can go ahead and try to make a deal. If you're in those areas and you are in the market to shop for a house, the worst thing that a seller can say to you is no. So don't be afraid to put in the offer that you feel is fair. Like there's there's a thought process that people have. They're like, well, I don't want to offend the sellers. Well, the thing is, it's your money. So who cares if they get offended? I mean, honestly, it's just business at that point. You're trying to get the best deal and they're trying to get the most money. So, a lot of sellers weren't really, too kind to buyers during the pandemic and during the 08 crash. Buyers were trying to get the best deal that they could. And especially when the sellers were doing short sales. At that point, it was, you're really negotiating with the bank. So go as low as you think you can get accepted. So I'm just saying, it's your pocketbook. Make an offer. What's the worst they can say? No. Especially if you're in any of those markets, you got to also put it in consideration, like, insurance is going up, taxes are going up. And, once they go up, they never go down, even no matter how much the market goes down. Even here, like we had a reduction of home prices here and I got my tax bill and it remained flat for a couple of years. Never went down, just remained flat. And sure enough, it started going back up again. Once they get that money, they really like it. They like to stick keep their little sticky fingers on it. So anyways, all right, here we got another story that came in. Oops, go ahead. All right, Long Island real estate market status. I know that not many of you are in Long Island, but I thought this was pretty interesting. It says the Hamptons market has began lifting off in the first quarter. Like I said, it's still going bonkers up there up north. And since then, the weather is warming. The urge to take the real estate plunge has blossomed. But with that in mind, negotiations are arduous and complicated, requiring the CJAC team at Compass to be laser focused on the finesse to deal through the fruition. Yeah, but you know what? Remember when we saw that as one of the companies that is going to start laying off? I don't know, Jack. You may want to look into that. Compass may be laying you off. No, I'm just kidding. They're probably talking. They're talking to management and other jobs, but I just thought that was funny. Anyway, all right, we got our next story. It says Newsweek, Florida housing market mirroring the 2008 crash, which I find to be absolutely preposterous because it's not the same, not even remotely. The reason why people are leaving is completely different. Why the home prices are plunging is completely different. Not mirroring, not at all. It says migration to Florida has dropped 80% from the pandemic peak. Without new buyers, the demand for housing is falling, but prices remain high, meaning that local buyers are being priced out. So at some point, they're going to have to analyze and adjust. We'll see what happens in Florida. But my guess is the reason why home prices are dropping in Florida is that a lot of people are getting priced out because of insurance or the ability to even get insurance on that piece of property. So they're willing to put their house on the market, but since there's so many other people in the area that have the same issue, you're seeing a lot more inventory in a lot of places. And when you have that much selection of inventory, you just keep dropping that price. So I don't think it's just that. Oh, I don't think it's just that. All right, we got one more headline that didn't make the cut for the main. So Realtor.com says the supply of homes hits a post-pandemic high in April, but pending sales drop as buyers grapple with an economic uncertainty. Affordability concerns continue to plague the housing market. The new monthly housing trend reports estimates that a housing household needs to earn, ready for this? A household needs to earn $114,000 annually to afford the median price home here in the United States. That's up 70% from $67,000 5 years ago. 5 years ago, all you needed was $67,000. Today, you need $114,000. And wages are not increasing at the same level. I mean, at some point, all of this is going to play out in some way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Don't forget, you can ask any of your real estate questions in the chat. If there's something you want me to discuss or about any of the articles that we saw, we can go ahead and have a little discussion between you and me. But in the meantime, we're going to have our first call of the day, the only call, matter of fact. But if you want to leave a message and have your call put on the screen for next week, make sure you call 888-255-0197. That's 888-255-0197. That's right, everybody. Let's go ahead and give it a call. Leave a message for Kristina, and she'll put it on the screen next week. That was my best Casey Kasem voice. If you guys know what that is, who that is. I'm that old. Man, I gotta... Eddie, you want to go ahead and give us our first call, please? Excuse me, I had to take
Yes, Nicholasville, Kentucky. Yeah, I'm wondering when someone is wanting to relocate to a different state, they know the town that they want to locate to, but they know no one there, they have no connections. What is the best way and the safest way for them to find a place to rent while they are in the process of looking for a place to possibly buy if they end up actually liking the area? That's it for now. Bye.
This is a fantastic question because I have a family member that's looking to move and we're looking at rental properties. So when I think of is what I look for, of course, you're going to look for the crime rate in the area. You're going to look for the affordability in the area. And then I look for the schools. So the areas that have the best schools typically have the best places to rent. That's how I always do it. That's just me personally. But I always would tell you to always check to see what statistically is going on. If you're just renting, you're going to be fine. But if you're buying, that's a little bit different. in the fact that you want to make sure that the area that you're moving to has industry in that area that has been established for quite some time, and it has continuing industry that's being built up in that specific area, right? When we picked where we wanted to live here in Louisiana, we were looking, first of all, for schools, and we're looking to see if the area has grown quite a bit, if there was a major declines in the economy at any time, and of course, like we're always looking at the schools and crime rate. So that's how we did it. And this was back in my day when they did. It was really hard to find statistics. We had just gotten the internet, but that's how we do it. That's how I would do it. Yep. Lamar says, I used to listen to America's Top 40 every Sunday. Yes, I did too. Yep. Casey Kasem, that's a blast from the past. Yep. Someone should make a Kristina real estate doll with her boyfriend, Eddie. You know, it's so funny. I actually have a picture of me as a doll. I'm going to pull this up for you because it was made for me, and you get to see it right here live on here we go. I'm going to pull this up, this real estate doll, because I know you guys want to see it, but I thought it was so cute. I'm like, I want to make this into a doll. And my husband said, we should do it. And I'm like, I don't know. All right, here it is. I promised I'm not going to make you wait long. I'm promised. Photos. Where is it? Well, now I feel insane. I swear I gave it to my brother, but maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't, but I have a picture of myself as a doll. Someone gave it to me and sent it to me. I was like, oh my God, this would be so cool if I could really turn it into a doll. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Look, I don't know if it will. Let me see if I can. Oh, it even moves. Oops. All right. Look, I don't know. Like, here, it's a Kristina doll. Look at that. Isn't she cute? She comes with her play button, a for sale sign, her big giant coffee cup, a cell phone, and a microphone. So, I want it. No, Kristina Smallhorn doll. And look, it's in my branding colors too. So, yep. Who's over says, it's strange home prices have dropped, yet my salary isn't keeping pace. You and most of America, you and most of America could pretty much claim the same thing, is that the rate of inflation is not meeting what their pay increases. And that's why people, like, the new normal is 42% of your income is used for housing. That's should never be the normal, right? And it's been like that for, I don't know, for the last like 4 years. And that's, I'm not even just talking just mortgage payments. I'm talking people with their rent payments, 42% of their income. And I think about people that are Gen Z and millennials, and they have student loans. So then you have a student loan, you have your rent, then of course you have insurance, then you have a car. Like, by the time everything's said and done, like, you went to work and then you come home and you can't do anything else. And I love when people say, oh, it's because of avocado toast. Oh, no. It's not because of avocado toast. And you know what? If they want a piece of avocado toast after working their rear ends off and have no money left, and they're scraping it at the bottom of their car just to be able to have some little joy in their lives, come on now. Let them have their toast. Let them have their toast. Sly All Day says, will you ever have a call-in show? I don't know if you were aware of this. Some of you that are in the chat that have been here for a long time. At one point, I did have a call-in show. It used to be able to call in live. That turned into a recipe for disaster, because not everybody that calls in has the best intentions when they call in. And even though those calls were screened prior to them getting on the air, once they got on the air, yeah. So then I was trying to offset it with, okay, well, I gave them a link to come on the air live where they could have their camera on. That was a bad idea, That was a very, very bad idea. But that way I can verify they were a real person, right? And they weren't just some random person on the internet. Well, random people on the internet don't care what you see on the camera sometimes. So those of you been around a while know why we don't do live call-in shows anymore. So, yep. It says, wow, we have a real Kristina, AI Kristina, and now the realtor doll Kristina. Yes. Yep. Yep. Be careful on the Great Plains. If it's within miles of the Mississippi River, in 1993, the Great Flood destroyed homes for miles on either side, 30,000 acres in several states. Well, I mean, it's flat. I guess it makes a whole lot of sense. Oh, those poor people. Flooding. I'm not saying that a fire isn't devastating. I'm not saying that at all. But flooding and watching slowly that water just go up further and further and further and being blindsided by that in no time. I mean, I've seen it firsthand here. Luckily, Eddie, knock on wood, Eddie and I have not had that happen to our personal homes, but we have seen so many of our friends and family that had to deal with that in 2016. Flooding is the worst. And then having to get it mitigated and cleaned up and repaired afterwards takes years and years and years. I want to stress to everybody, if you are thinking about getting flood insurance, make sure you don't get flood insurance just for the structure itself. Make sure you get it for the contents as well. I don't know how many people I saw that like they were like, we have flood insurance, but it only covers what happened to the house. So that's like your drywall, your floors and everything, but your couches, refrigerators, all that is not covered. That's considered contents. So make sure you have both policies. Just FYI, throwing that out there. Muddy Sneaker 77 says, Kristina, what % of your income you say would be the normal? Old was 28 and the new is 42. I doubt there will ever be affordability again to justify the 28% rule. I would say, though, if we're really talking about affordability for a family, 28% of their income should be for housing. That I agree with that. No more than 32%. That, in my opinion, if we're really being serious about affordability, that's what the prices should be at. It should be 28 to 32% of somebody's income should be housing. Anything over that, I think, I mean, we're in super dangerous territory right now. You know, we're creeping up on 50% of somebody's income just for a place, just the shelter of the house. That's stupid. That is dumb. Everybody deserves to live in an affordable house. Every single person on this planet deserves to live in an affordable place. Safe, affordable, dry place. And it shouldn't take 50% of somebody's income just to survive. That's stupidity to me. Absolutely ridiculous. But who am I to talk? No one's going to listen to me anyways, except for 257 of you. I hope you're on the same page as me. But I think about what is going on with, younger generations. And I really genuinely think that they're trying to turn them into renters for life. I did a video with Grant Cardone, and he talks to a lot of young men, right? And he's like, oh, the dumbest thing you could ever do is buy a house. I'm like, what? He was like, oh, you could take that money and invest it and blah, blah, blah. A home ownership is like forced. It's like forced savings, right? Most people, if they have that money in their pocket, we have not been educated in our public school system and even private school system how to manage money. On top of that, we do not know how to invest money. So you're telling me that a young guy that's debating on, well, I should probably rent or I could buy a house. You're going to tell him to rent when after like 10 years, you would actually have saved a hell of a lot more money by renting. I mean, by buying a house within your budget than renting, because renting continues to go up every single year. And then the argument comes, well, taxes and insurance go up every year, but not at the same rate as renting does. Not even close. So I think they're really, really prepping kids, younger generations, to not want to own a house because they're like, oh, you have all this maintenance too, and you can add 3% to every year to all the maintenance things that need to be done to your house. It's not, you leave that to a landlord if your refrigerator breaks. Yeah, but like 10 years down the road, what do you have? Nothing. And something happens to you and you need to borrow against the equity that you would have had in a house. That isn't there because you rented for the last 10 years. Uh, they're setting these kids up for failure, or where they have to be dependent for the rest of their lives. They have no, um, I don't know. That's I'm on a tangent. I'm sorry. I went on a tangent, but I don't. There's no way that encouraging younger people to stay renters for life is a good idea. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a real estate agent. Like it just like I tell my daughter all the time. I'm like, you will own something at some point. It may not be the best house in the world that you first own. It may be something you actually loathe, but it will belong to you. And several years down the road, when you go to sell it, it will be worth more money, and that you can take that little nest egg of money and buy your next house. That's what we all did. And encouraging kids to do something different is absolutely ludicrous. Anyways, I'll stop right there. Eric the Blue says, all right, let's hope Kristina doll is nicer than the AI Kristina. This is true. If you guys call this number 888-255-0197, the person that answers the phone, or I should say the robot that answers the phone, sounds like me, but it's not me. It's they've cloned my voice, and I've given it authorization to do so it could take your calls and you could recognize the voice that was when you were leaving the message. But she's a little saucy, and sometimes she cuts you off mid-sentence. You just talk right over her because she's kind of witchy. I'm being PG. She's very witchy. So you just roll right over her voice. She's not going to get her feelings hurt. She's a robot. So David Jones says, I had to hit the like button for that rant. All right, David Jones, you're on my side. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Oh, you don't like people yelling Baba Booey? No, they didn't yell Baba Booey. Boy,
Baba Booey.
I haven't heard that in forever. It wasn't that. One person showed up on screen, and at first it was just their face. I'm backtracking because that comment. When we had the live and call and show, when I decided to go ahead and give people the link to the stream where they could actually be on camera, the person originally on the screen was just his face. But when he got on camera, he decided to lean back. And when he leaned back, only his shirt was covering partially his body, so we got to see the rest of it, the rest of what he had to give to the world. And the whole time I'm trying to keep a straight face going, oh my God, please let this. Okay, I'll answer his question. And then I got done, I go, Eddie, he goes, you don't have to say no, that we're never doing that again. I'm like, absolutely not. So Dan Peter says live call show is like showing a tenant and occupied property. You never know what you're going to see. Yeah. My broker walked in on somebody taking a shower. It was the builder and the real estate agent on duty. The real estate agent on duty were testing out the shower. I don't think her husband or the builder's wife was too happy about that. Broker never said a word, but things always come out. It's a small town. Caleb Block says, do you happen to know a flood agent? I don't know a flood agent. It's just your typical homeowners insurance agent. So if you where you carry your homeowners insurance, you can go ahead and have your flood insurance policy done with them as well. But it's through the government. It's through FEMA. So go ahead and do it through them. Colin Roberts says, what would you say about farmland a friend could build and set up crops, etc.? Well, I love the idea. You just make sure that you first of all get a clear title. Secondly of all, find out what kind of structures you can build on that farmland, because some of them have restrictions. Like they'll say it has to be farm. You can't live on this property. It's not meant for long-term living use. It's only meant for farming and farming alone. So what some people do to get around that is they'll live in RVs, or they'll live in tiny homes that are on wheels, because it's not permanently fixed to the land. So just be careful on the land that you have. Now, speaking of that quick claim deed that we were talking about earlier, that is another area that a lot of these fraudsters are trying to get a hold of pieces of land. They do these fake quitclaim deeds. They say that they are owners of the property. They're waiting for the original owners to pass away to basically change the title work because they have this fake quitclaim deed. It's happening a lot with farmland. And the whole goal of that is basically they're hoping that the sellers pass away and don't know it. And they don't know that anything has happened to their title work because this owner has been paying their taxes on time, and they don't live out there. It's not something they check on regularly, and the fraudster is just buying their time until an expiration date, and then they can take ownership. So be careful if you happen to own vacant land and vacant houses. So Lawnmower said just found the pick flood was in 2011. It was quite a bit higher, 12 inches. I don't know how high it got here in Louisiana, but over by the river, I have a friend, she had a 2-story house, and the water was above her rooftop. And the flood stage was so bad in some areas that people's houses that were on one side of the river were now on the opposite side because the current had pulled the houses straight off the foundation and moved them to the other side of the county line. Wild, right? Water is so damaging, so powerful. And, once it's in, even when it starts to recede and dry out, think about the damage and the mold, especially here in South Louisiana. Ugh, it's awful. Christy says, it's true. Just make an offer. We made one and got accepted. We were prepared for a counter, but they just wanted to get it done. Yep. So earlier I had mentioned that if you are looking in some of these areas that now have flipped to a buyer's market, don't worry about offending the seller, because what's the worst they can say to you is no, right? So if they get, the seller gets all upset because you made an offer that on their house that wasn't, what they thought, it's just numbers. It's just business, and you want to get the best deal you can. So go ahead and put in that offer. See what happens. The worst they can say is no. Like she was expecting a counter offer, and they accepted it because they just wanted to get it done. And you could run into that too if you're expecting. You could run into that too. So just go ahead, put it in. What's the worst? Nothing. Just paper. It's just paper. At this point, it's not even paper because it's all electronic. So Alfred says, when I hear you, I laugh. When I hear you, Laugh World is a better place. Laugh World. Huh. When I hear you, Laugh World is a better place. Okay. Thank you.
When I hear you laugh, the world is a better place.
When I hear you. But there's a comma, Eddie.
Okay. People mistype sometimes.
Okay. Well, I laugh all the time. I get in trouble for it too. People will say in the comment section, "Oh my gosh, you laugh too much. Why you giggle all the time?" And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just the way I'm built. But I'm glad that my laugh makes you laugh. And I'm glad that it makes your world a better place. That's for sure. Jack D said, Kristina doll comes with lots of glasses. It should, man. I've got all sorts of kinds of glasses. I just found these again. If you know anything about reading glasses, you would lose them all over the house. So I found these ones. These were missing for quite some time. Kim says, what is the purpose of finding out how long a place is vacant? Like you always mentioned. Thank you. What's the purpose of finding out how long a place is vacant? Well, like for instance, if you own a house, you want to make sure that, anything that's going on with that house, like as far as title work is concerned, you want to make sure that everything's clear with the title. If the house is vacant, right, and it's been on the market for quite some time, you want to know, first of all, why is it vacant? Like, did the owners pass away? Was there a crime scene happening in there? The longer that's on the market and it hasn't sold, that means that there's a few reasons, right? Most of the time it's overpriced. 99.999% of the time, the reason why a house hasn't sold is because of the price. And even if the house is in terrible, just awful condition, people say, well, the reason it hasn't sold is because it's in awful condition. Do you know what makes awful condition sound a lot more appealing? Drop the price. It always comes down to the price. So the reason I wanted you to look at that, like if the house has been vacant for quite some time, the sellers might be more eager to get it sold because they might have moved on to their next location, right? And so having this like monkey on your back of a house that's with a mortgage payment and taxes and having the electricity on and the air conditioning going and blah, blah, blah. This could be terrible for them, right? They probably want to get it sold. So go ahead and make that low offer. Go ahead and make that low offer. Oh, Caleb says he's a flood agent, private market. Oh, you're with Lloyd's of London? Well, there you go. I honestly did not know there was private flood insurance. I just learned something new. Colin Roberts says, how do you feel about buying farmland where there potentially you could have enough of it that people could rent houses or build houses on where you could build crops on them to supplement income? I love that idea. I think I highly support that idea. I highly support that idea. I think about this often. There's a place in Austin, Texas. It's run by Loaves and Fishes, I believe. But it has a whole tiny home community out there. And their whole purpose is everybody has a mission in that tiny home community. If you can't afford the rent, you're going to end up working, in these little areas, right? So they have tiny homes you could rent, or you could bring your tiny home to that area. You have to participate in the community, and they grow their own food. And since they have such an abundance of food, they sell it as well to keep the whole facility going. It's a fantastic community. Fantastic. It's right there in Austin. My friend Jeremy Knight, who also has a YouTube channel here on YouTube, he was out there, and I mean, it's a fantastic idea. I strongly support it. That's in my dream. You guys would never know if I won the lottery, but there would be signs, and that would be one of the signs. Own a bunch of farmland, put a bunch of tiny home community out there. Everybody participates. Everybody owns their own little piece of the heaven. I'm all in. Kristina says yes. Kristina says yes. Oh, it sounds like a commune. It's similar-ish, but there's people that work out there that, have regular 9-to-5 jobs. You don't have to participate in that way. You could just pay the rent, All right. Brian Burwell says, if you rent, you have to pay property tax in the form line of higher rent. Yes. To pretend that property owners don't pass that as many expenses as possible, especially taxes to the renters, is nothing but a farce. I concur. And please explain that to Mr. Grant Cardone. Every time he's been maintaining this. He's been saying this for the last, I swear to God, 10 years. Don't buy a house. Dumbest investment you'll ever make. It's not even an investment. It's nothing but he's been telling young people, because most of the guys that, I would say his avatar of the people that watch him, are probably between the ages of 28 to 50. I would say it's like the right around that range are the people that really listen to him, mostly men. And they're saying, don't buy a house, kids, bad decision. But do you know what he owns? Lots of rental properties. So, it's in his best interest to keep you renting for the rest of your life, right? And he's like, you just need to invest in other places. And he says, you need to invest in yourself. Great. Those are great words. Fantastic. Go ahead and invest in yourself. But how are you going to do that, sir? How are you going to teach these kids how to do that? Come on. I don't know. So Eric the Blue says the only problem with home ownership is that one never truly owns it, even when it's paid off the mortgage. So long as the owner has to pay property taxes, effectively government lien on the. Yes, I get that. I understand what you're saying, but okay, let me just put it in perspective. If I had a paid off house, my property taxes are nowhere near what a mortgage would be. Not even close. Not even close. And you can take what you owe on property taxes, break that down to a monthly payment, and go ahead and just figure that out so that when the property tax bill comes in, you have that money available. The property taxes that you would owe would still be a hell of a lot less than paying monthly rent, right? So if you have a paid off piece of property, sure, you truly never own it because you owe property taxes, but you still wouldn't be paying rent. You wouldn't be paying a landlord, and you own it. It belongs to you, and you can pass that down to family members in the future. I understand what you're saying. Yes, I get it, but still owning is much better than not. and staying a renter for the rest of your life. That's what Kristina thinks. You let me know in the comment section if you disagree. But yeah, that was a good point. Don said, just put in an offer to my agent. Nice property, 3,000 square feet, almost an acre. 380 cash. They're asking for 38, but clearly needs a new roof and maybe an AC. I want to know, did you write that in your offer? Like, look, I understand that we're putting in an offer really low, but it needs a new roof and it needs a new AC. And I'm deducting that from the offer because of those things. Sometimes that works. Like, don't get your feelings all hurt. This is the reason why. And it needs a new roof, Missy. And roofing is expensive, especially here in Louisiana. I'm sure it is everywhere, but we have these ridiculously high-pitched roofs here in Louisiana. And the amount of shingles that is required for that, it gets very pricey, very pricey. And they're always busy here in Louisiana. We have many roofing companies because they're never not working, that's for sure. There's always something coming around where they can just go ahead and start putting new roofs on again. And David Jones says, I don't want to be the first to live somewhere where the last tenant died. I need a buffer, right? You need somebody else to get the bad mojo out of the house, little haunty spirits. Do you guys remember Amityville Horror? You remember that whole movie and everything that happened there? So like that whole family made a book, the whole 9 yards, said all these weird things happened to them in that house. The people that lived after that said there's nothing that ever happened. Like they don't know if they buy that whole scenario of what happened in that house. They're like, it's been fine with us. Whatever they had with them, they must have taken it with them because our house is fine. It doesn't look like that either. They changed the windows, the iconic windows in that house. They changed it because too many people are coming by and snapping pictures. So Katsy says, when selling a house, is it appropriate to ask for U.S. citizens only? Well, if you're going to put it on the MLS, you cannot do that. Now, if you're selling it yourself, you can put anything you want. It's up to you, right? But you can't put that in a listing agreement or on the MLS because us as real estate agents we have to uphold to a code of ethics, and we also have to be a part of the fair housing, and that would go against fair housing practices. But you can do whatever you want if you're selling it yourself. You can sell it to whoever you want, as long as you don't have, I think, more than 5 houses under your name. If you have more than 5, I think you still have to follow fair housing. Island Knight says, people down the road from me bought an abandoned, dilapidated house on 1 acre or 2, put a little trailer on it, and slowly fixed it up, that old house, and now it's pretty nice. You know what? I talk about this all the time. I tell people all the time, buy the most hideous house or buy a piece of property that had an old trailer on it or an old house. Because first of all, you beat half the problem, right? Most of the time when you're buying a piece of land, it takes forever to get electricity out there. It takes forever if they require you to have like city water and sewer that goes out there. Sometimes it takes years. But if you find an old piece of property with an old house on it or an old trailer on it, that's golden. That's a gem. That is nothing but a gem. Even if it's overgrown, at least it's doable and it's there, and you can build from there. This happens a lot in Louisiana too, is that people will buy older houses. They'll get a small mobile home or even one of those trailer houses or whatever. They'll fix up the whole entire house or raise the elevation of it, wait, until it's completely done, then move that trailer house or mobile home or whatever behind their house. And now they have a brand new house, and then they have an extra house behind them. Some of them use them for like game rooms. Some people turn them into like outdoor kitchen living area. It's kind of like part of the culture here in Louisiana. It's very common. All right, said, I closed on my house 4 days ago. It's a 1960s home. I bet you it's not going anywhere. I would rather, and I have to get your opinion. Let me ask your opinion in the comment section. Would you rather a brand new house, brand new, spanking new, or would you rather a home that was very well maintained from the 60s? Let me know in the comment section. I will not, I won't give you my opinion until we see. Yep. YouTube Unfolded says, wow, interesting question. Which question did you find interesting? Lovely says, would why would that matter as long as they're getting the money that you want? I agree with, like, as far as fair housing is concerned, it doesn't matter at all as long as you have the check available. And title has to verify everything to make sure that they have the cash. So whoever is buying it, I don't care. Can you close on time? Do you have the money to buy it? We're good as gold as far as I'm concerned. But I think some people are more concerned about foreign investment companies coming in. Like that was a big problem in Canada. There's a lot of foreign investors, and they would buy the house and leave it vacant, waiting for the housing market to increase even more so they could cash out on their properties. But then what happened was there was like whole neighborhoods that were bought out by different entities. So there's lots of reasons why people choose to want to have certain kinds of buyers buy their house. It isn't all like laced in racism, but sometimes it is. Not gonna lie, some people are just like that. Charlton says steep pitches. Hold on, where did Charlton go? Where'd it go, Eddie? Where'd it go? Oh, Charlton says steep pitches roofs. Was Eddie a mountain climber as a roofer? Yes, he had these things called tiger paws in order to climb the roof, and I thought that was so cute. He had little tiger paws.
Cougar paws. They're called
cougar paws. Cougar paws. What did I say? Tiger, cougar, same difference. It's in the cat family, and he just looks so cute. I just imagine these little paws going up the roof. His little shoes, little spiky shoes. Hey, Jake. Thank you. Hello. It's good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. All right. So what is the consensus of, do people want brand new or do they want new construction? I prefer 1978 as I don't care for asbestos. Yeah, you're right. Old house, D-Jacks. Yeah. I want a house that has been tested. 60s, well maintained. Brand new. We got Dominic, brand new. Kim says 60s house. No to new construction. 1960s house for Noreen. Yep. Overjoyed says 1960s. No new houses. No new houses. No new houses. I'm with you guys. I follow several accounts here on YouTube and on TikTok, and they are inspection houses. SB says new construction is preferred, but 1960s would probably be better quality. And that is my point. I watched them do all sorts of crazy stuff on brand new housing. What I would say is the number one concern that I have is in a lot of big name builders, track builders, and even some, custom builders, the roof line, where they're supposed to have braces and trussing, there's none, or it's not attached correctly. The roofing materials they're not put together correctly. That's number two. And then the foundation, they're crumbling. The foundations are crumbling on a lot of new construction on these big track builders. So if you are buying new, I'm just saying it is worth its weight in gold to get yourself a home inspector. It's no skin off my nose if you don't get one, but it is worth the $600 it costs you to get a home inspector that goes through that house, because there's no way for you to know how the bracing is supposed to be in the attic. There's no way for you to know. I wouldn't know that, right? Let them do their job and tell you exactly what's wrong in the house. So that way you can get that done before you close on it. Because a lot of times with a lot of home builders, especially the big track ones, once you've signed on the dotted line, they drag their feet to get those repairs done. But if you hold up the closing and saying, I'm not going to close and sign on the dotted line until these things are repaired, you watch, all of a sudden things start getting done. So I'm just saying, if you were thinking about it, hire yourself a home inspector. That also goes for the house that you buy in the 1960s. But to me, it's better quality, but you better get that inspection, because you know how people live. People like to hide stuff too. I know they're supposed to fill out a property disclosure, and tell you everything they've done to the house in the last 20 years that they lived in it. A lot of times they don't remember what they've done to it. And other times they're just kind of trying to hide it. And hopefully you won't notice. Uncle Bert put in an extra stuff in that electrical panel and a few other things with the plumbing. Get an inspection, get a home inspection. Kristina Robertson says, are flipped houses worth buying? Just like anything, it depends on who flips them. I've seen really, really good flipped work, right? And I've seen really, 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 really crappy flipped work. And a lot of flippers, especially the newer flippers, they like to cut corners as much as possible. They do a lot of wacky stuff to look more modern with a flipped house. And then once they cut those corners, it either A, looks terrible, or B, it doesn't meet code, or three, they are not going to warrant any of the work that was done in the house. So you bought this house that was completely flipped, that has a new air conditioning unit, new roof. And then all of a sudden you're having electrical problems and you think you're fine, and you call up the flipper and you're like, hey, there's all these problems. And they're like, oh, call my guy. He's the one who put it in. And you call that guy and they were like, we can't warrant to work. There's no warranty on that work. But, we'll go ahead and fix it. You put it in, buddy, but you weren't the original person to pay him for that. So, I mean, just be careful with flip properties is all I'm saying. Who's up first says Cougar Paws. And he was Kristina's Village People dream. Come on, come true. Yeah. Well, I just thought it was funny. He would come home and he's like, I got to put my cougar paws in my back at the back of the truck, cougar paws. And I just imagine these little, like, cute little shoes with little nails on it, gripping the roof. That's how my brain works. I can't help myself. Chad Master says it's crazy when inspectors run water in the shower and it runs away from the drain because it isn't sloped right. Yeah, we had that in our house in Florida, and we had to get them to fix it. We had redone our bathroom, and the guy put in a whole brand new shower. And when we took a shower, it all pulled the wrong direction. I'm like, hey, you're gonna have to come back out here. They had to pull it all out and reslope it. I think that happened in our house here. Oh no, that was a different thing. That was a different one. Yep. Hippie Punk says my house is built in 1982 and is way better built than any house, new ones in my area. But the new ones are going up and making mine worth a ton more when we paid in 2017. Yeah, I concur, friend. I concur. Our original house, I think it was built in 1990, and that thing was solid as a rock. Now, there was all sorts of stuff that was like it needed updated on, but it was concrete block. It wasn't going anywhere. David Jones says, if I bought a new house, I would have an inspector check it on an ASAP. Yes, every step. Check on an ASAP every step. And I'm going to tell you, so some home builders, and this is a red flag. I'm so glad you brought this up. Some home builders will say you're not allowed to come to the home site until it's finished. Some of the big brands, I can't say their names, but some of the biggest names in home construction across the country, they're the ones that will say you can't do any kind of inspection on these properties until it hits a certain stage. And to me, that's a giant red flag. What are you trying to hide and cover up before an inspector comes out there? Now, I know of a few inspectors out here that they go out there anyways. They just wait until the end of the day and they go out there. They don't say they're inspector. They're just going out there to look at the property. And they go out there and look at the foundation, make sure that was poured correctly. They go out there and make sure that the framing is done correctly. And you can pay your home inspector for that process. They'll tell you what the breakdown is in payments, because it's usually like they go out there 3 times, I believe. I think ours came out here 3 times to make sure that everything was done correctly. So I had them come out during the pad. I had them come out as soon as the framing and electrical was in. Framing and electrical was in, and then they came in once. Framing, electrical, and plumbing. Once that was in, I had them come out there, and then he came back out here once the drywall was up, and then when it closed, right before it closed, he went back through and checked on everything. So, who's up first says, has any company tried building homes on assembly line like cars to reduce costs? Matter of fact, I have a whole entire channel dedicated to this. Modular homes are done this way. A lot of tiny home builders are done this way. They've been done this way for years and years and years. It's just not as common as it was right after World War II. So everybody was getting, after World War II, everybody was trying to get the American dream. That was the thing that people were talking about in order to get these soldiers in houses and in mortgages. They came up with the, I think it was the VA, was it VA? there was a specific program basically that was allowing these soldiers to go ahead and GI Bill. It was one of those GI bills that would allowed for low mortgages, that created the VA mortgage system, and they did modular homes, and they would literally pour out 30 foundations, right? They pour out the same 30 foundations. They had 5 different floor plans, and the houses just showed up at the site. They were already built in the factory, and they'd show up on site. And that's why you see a lot of those. It was really big in New Jersey, a lot of areas in California, some in Arizona, that they just did these little modular homes, and they stand today. California as well. Those houses still stand today. They're fantastic, but they're not like, we went from like smaller homes to McMansions, and now we're trying, like, younger generations don't want the 5-bedroom, 3,500 square foot home. They want a smaller house. They're gravitating towards that. They would much prefer the houses like our grandparents have, which was like 2 bedrooms, 2 bath with a kitchen. They're not like the notion that, younger people just are expecting too much. No, they're not. They're really not. They just want a nice, safe, affordable place to live. And they would much prefer to have a smaller house because they don't have to maintain all of that, because it makes the house payment less. So, yeah, yes, they do that. Modular homes. Yes, modular homes. So David Jones says, not meening code is my biggest fear with a flipped house. Cutting things away from the aesthetic reasons. Yeah, like there was this big thing with a millennial gray, and they'd cover up stuff. Now, if you are concerned about anything in a house that was flipped, make sure that all the proper permits were pulled. Boy, that sounded good. Proper permits pulled. Say that 10 times fast. And make sure that, like, they were, well, not only were they pulled, did they come back out and inspect to make sure that the work was done correctly? Like those permits have been cured correctly. That's the biggest thing, because a lot of flippers, I'm not saying all, so don't get upset flippers, but a lot of flippers they'll say, oh yeah, we pulled all the permits, but they didn't do what they were supposed to do in the work in the first place. So just saying, sometimes they don't pull them at all. Just be very careful. Very careful. Christine says, can inspectors detect problems with flips? Oh yeah, they do it all the time. Like I said, just go on YouTube and go home inspector flip nightmare. They'll just type that at the top of YouTube and see there's hundreds and hundreds of videos that show you all the stuff. They'll go under the crawl spaces and show you stuff. I mean, the electrical stuff is always the one that always blow my mind. So anyways, yeah, if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. Absolutely. All right, everybody. If you're looking to share this as a live stream with your friends and family, all you have to do is go to anywhere you listen to podcasts and click Real Estate for Everyone with Kristina Smallhorn. For some reason, I'm very tongue-tied today, running out of oxygen. If you're trying to get a hold of me and you need to have your real estate question answered by me personally, you can go to my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com, hit one of the pink buttons, fill out a form, and I will get a hold of you at my earliest convenience. I've been traveling quite a bit, so there are a few of you who've been sitting in my inbox. I am going to be getting to you this week. Sorry about that. Kristina been busy. Kristina been very busy. If you want to call in to the show next week, it will not be live. You can go ahead and call the recorded number, which is 888-255-0197. That's 888-255-0197. And leave a voicemail for the AI Kristina. She is very saucy, a little grumpy, but you can leave your message there and we'll hear your call next week. Oh, Eddie wanted everybody to know, because he's a Star Wars freak, may the 4th be with you. May the 4th be with you. Will there be a live stream next week? Good question, Lawnmower. It is Mother's Day. And I think that everybody, including myself, who is a mom, would like to spend time with their moms. So I think that we should go ahead and take a relaxation, but I'll leave it up to you. You let me know in the comment section if you want a live stream for next week or not. And I will review that and make adjustments accordingly. If all 300 of you decide, yes, we're going to do a live stream, then I will do it. But if the rest of them say take the day off, I'm taking the day off. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate everybody being a part of the show today, and I hope to see you maybe not next week, but the week following. All right, everybody. So long, farewell. Thank you, moderators. You guys are the best. You guys always keep the chat nice and clean. You guys are rock. You're so beautiful. You're so wonderful. All right, everybody. Peace be with you. Peace be with you. May the 4th be with you. You know, there's that Catholic thing coming up. Peace be with you.